Glad you could join us again. We are with Greg Engert, beer director for the Neighborhood Restaurant Group, a James Beard Award nominee. The group includes, where we are, the latest addition to the NRG, the Sovereign in Georgetown. You've also got GBD and Irongate in DuPont Circle. Greg, as always, happy to see you.
You too.
What do we have on tap this week?
So this week we're going back to Belgium in honor
Hooray.
of the Sovereign, where we are right now, for another beer that is very, very hard to find outside of the monastery in Belgium. This is the fabled Westvleteren 12 from the Westvleteren, from the Trappist Abbey of St. Sixtus in West Flanders, Belgium, right near the North Sea. And this is one of the world classic beers that is pretty hard to get in the U.S., although we have a pretty good supply of it here right now at the Sovereign. And just an amazing beer. So let's taste it. We'll talk more about the monks, etc. This vintage is actually from 2012, so it's got a little age on it.
Yes, 2012. Seems like yesterday. Unfortunately, it's not.
So
that's
a classic, yeah. So this beer is, so the history of the monastery itself. In 1831, some monks, Cistercian monks from the Catsburg Monastery in France, established the St. Sixtus Monastery in West Flanders. They started brewing out of self-sufficiency in 1838. And as with all the Trappists, they brew to sell in order just to remain self-sufficient and for charitable efforts. No profitability needed here. So they did that all the way up and through the First World War and into the Second World War. This beer, the 12, used to be known as ABT, ABT, was introduced in 1940. They're the only monastery that didn't have its brewing coppers taken during the two wars because they were actually far away from the fighting enough, and they were basically serving as medical grounds for the Allied troops. So they continued to brew through. Now, in 1942, St. Bernardus, the brewery that we know and see around a lot today, started brewing a lot of their beers under contract. But in 1992, the monks took it all the way back and have continued to brew now. What makes this very special is the flavors. I mean, it's an amazing beer. Lots of dark fruit and spice. With the age, it's figgy and toffee-ish and super dry.
Maple.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like a sticky kind of maple quality to it. It's incredible. But it's also very hard to get. And the reason for that is, unlike some of the other monasteries, they make a very small amount of beer, about 60,000 cases a year. That's it. Under 5,000 barrels. Very little. But it's the same amount that they've been making since the 1930s. So they've never increased production, even though clearly they could have. And while they do employ 3 secular workers to help with some manual tasks, it's the only one where the monks do all of the brewing exclusively. So there's 5 of their 26 Cistercians at the monastery that do all the brewing, and an additional 5 help out when it's bottling time. So this makes it super singular. There's no other monastery that operates quite in this way.
Do they have to add anything to it? And I think I know the answer. I mean, which I think is no. For traveling over here?
Not at all. Nope.
Yeah.
One of the best things about Belgian beer is it's re-fermented in bottle. So with that re-fermentation, keeps it bright and effervescent. This is 4 years old and still very effervescent. But that CO2 creates a blanket that keeps the oxygen out. And so it actually, it's built for travel in some ways. This has already been aged to 2012 vintage. If you could get your hands on some of this, would it be worth it to take a couple and put them aside? Yeah, there are some people that wouldn't even drink it fresh. They think it needs 10 years before you even drink it. Those are people that have access beyond mine, but they do. And
lots of
I
patience.
will note that when you get the models in Belgium, at this point you have to call, to get the beer, it's crazy. You call a phone line and set up an appointment to come and pick up the beer. Because they're trying to be truly monastic, like no commercialism at all involved with this. That's why the austerity of the label and the labeling is even more pronounced in Belgium, where there's no labels.
Yeah.
All the info is on the cap alone. So they don't even put the Trappist designation on here, it's on the crate. So these guys are anti-commercial to the nth degree. But you have to make an appointment to go there, and you go. In the old days, you used to be able to get 10 cases at a time. It's dwindled to 5, 2, and now it's 2 or 1 based on what their supply is. So it's very hard to get. This beer itself came to us via the 2012 distribution that the monastery did, one-time only deal to raise some money that they needed immediately for expanding and repairing the monastery itself. So you won't see these around for very long.
Beer makes the world go round.
That's right.
Simple as that. What would you pair it with?
I mean, this could go with anything from
bacon.
Yeah, no, just sticks of bacon.
Right now,
game birds, duck, lamb, steak, anything that's dark, big, and bold. It's got a natural affinity for big cheeses. It loves salted meats of any kind, but it also can work with, like rosemary chicken. That kind of figgy quality is awesome with rosemary. And the cheese aspect, I think a lot about like pizza. It'd be amazing, with a pizza with sausage, pepperoni, doesn't matter. That sweet richness is going to balance the tang of the sauce and the spice of the meats. Amazing. So
people can get that here at the Sovereign, but I mean, how hard is it to get though if you're just out and about, at your better beer stores? It's tough.
Impossible.
So if you see it, okay.
It's fun to feature because we have some at the Sovereign, but also it's a great reason to head to Belgium as soon as you can.
Yeah. All right. Greg, thank you as always.
Thank you.
Everyone, please always do drink responsibly and be sure to bring your thirst next time for another Beer of the Week.